goal with trading wasn't to make a ton of money. It was, can I make enough money to stay away from a corporate job and support myself? That's the whole reason I got into trading. And things have been extremely well where where the corporate job can, get out of here for a long time. A lot of the times, if I was to talk to most people, I would probably say double check your trading strategy, see if it really works, because I highly doubt it's your psychology. Because for the longest time, I thought it was my psychology and it was completely not. I was thinking, if something happened to me, how would I take care of, who would be there to take care of my mom? Is there anybody I could rely on to take care of my mom if I was in a car accident and, I was injured for life, or I was no longer here? But I've had so much pain from other people and so much trauma of, being lonely, being a loser, and all this stuff that really helped me, develop as a person, and said that I have to prove it to myself, that I'm the man, and that I'm proud of myself.
Andy's story is one of resilience and determination. Coming from a humble background and navigating through a challenging family situation, he worked overtime in warehouse and retail jobs, helped him to save enough money to meet 25K pattern day trader rule and start his own equity trading journey. Starting with just 4 to 8K at a young age of 18, Andy grew his trading account to over 250K by the age of 22 when he graduated with his finance degree. His success didn't stop there. His exponential growth recently brought his total profits to 550K. And be ready to take a deep dive of Andy's trading journey and story. He's the new star in the stock space, and he's as legit as possible. He doesn't sell cores, he doesn't sell nothing. All of this earning is coming from purely trading. So let's get it. Here's the live broker login on Andy's account. We strive to be as transparent as possible, and I hope these will show some legitimacy of Andy. Let's go.
Yeah, so this is my live broker login on Schwab. Schwab is my broker that I use for practically all of my trading. So you can see here's today's date and time. I'm 2 hours behind because I'm on Mountain Standard Time. This is Eastern Time. And you can see my total value in my account and the trading that I did today. This is the profit I locked in. And I always like to refresh my page to show you guys that this is on real-time data and this is a real account. And this is my trader view where all my stats are imported. This is year to date, so you can see it pulled up right here. I can also hit apply, check mark it to see it load. Boom, there's my total gain for the year. And this is also my equity curve from the start of zero, beginning of this year, all the way up to what it is right now.
That's awesome. Andy withdraw a certain amount of profit for expenses, and I hope this can show real proof as a proof.
What's up, everyone? Today I'm with Andy right here.
Yep.
And I met him on YouTube. He's a equity trader.
Yep.
Primarily focused on small caps and penny stocks.
Yep.
And he's been performing extremely well, around like 400K in profit.
Yeah, a tad bit more now. Tad bit.
Yeah. So do you want to?
Yeah, so I'll just say a little bit about myself. So I started trading when it was kind of during COVID time. So during that time, I was still in high school. I was in my senior year, and we were on spring break, and then COVID happened, and I didn't know, but I would never go back to high school. That was kind of it. And so a lot of that was kind of staying at home. You couldn't really go out. And that's when I kind of jumped on some trading videos. That's when I first got introduced to trading. And then from there, I started learning more about trading. I was also saving money up. I wanted to buy a Camaro, just like any kind of high school kid wants to buy a sports car. And so I was saving up some money, but I ended up buying an older car, and the rest of that money ended up going to a trading account. And that's kind of how I first started with my trading.
Yeah. So if you don't know, for you to trade equity,
Right.
and you kind of need to get over the pattern day trader rule, you have to be.
Yeah, so you have the PDT rule, and for most United States brokers, they require you, as kind of like a safety rule, they want you to have at least $25,000 in a day trading account if you're going to take more than 3 trades every 5 trading days, every 5 business days. And the reason they do that is kind of a safety thing. They think that if you have $25,000, that you're an adult, you're responsible, you can, you have a way of making money. And so that's kind of why they put that rule to kind of safeguard you in a way, but it can be a tad bit restricting when you're only allowed those few trades. And you could use a cash account and kind of work around it and take more trades. But yeah, that PDT rule is a $25,000 restriction.
Yeah. So maybe that's why like the Forex and
Right.
the CFD space is way more popular than the equity space, because for a newbie, when you get in, you need to have the faith to put that much money in. It's pretty challenging.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things is try saving up 25,000 when you're like 18, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty that's pretty hard to do. Saving up 25,000, even if you work like you're probably going to be working like more of a minimum wage job and some other jobs, and saving up that kind of money takes time. And I mean, it might be, a couple years, and so it's a super attractive if, in Forex or these other kind of markets, like, hey, you have this funding account, or you have some funding. It's much easier to start, and that seems like a better way to start. And so that's kind of like a probably a big difference, and probably why more people are attracted to those markets, because again, saving up 25,000 or even less than that, and like it still takes time to save up 5,000 for an account, 10,000. You could totally trade like options and use a cash account, and you can get leverage that way, but it still takes time.
So what's the journey like? How do you save it up, and how do you get into the equity, and like how many years take you
Right.
to become profitable?
Yeah, so kind of that starting on that journey is, we can probably go. Yeah, the journey's interesting, because when you first start, you really don't know anything, and there's a lot to learn, and there's a lot of information out there. And I started, again, I'm 22 right now, but I started when I was like 18 to 19. So it was about 4 years ago, and almost 5 years ago, because, I'm almost 23 now. But yeah, during that time, there was like a lot less content. So it was a lot easier to find more reliable information. But now there's a lot of, you have all sorts of people making trading videos, and some information can be a little bit more, throwing you off course. And so yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I first started learning from trading from a trader named Ricky Gutierrez. So he was trading in college at the time, and he was trading ETFs. So these like exchange traded funds, and that's kind of what he traded. But that I started learning from there, and I was able to still get some information that was more reliable off the start, and I think that was a bit more helpful, kind of starting from there. And yeah, what were some of the other questions that we could?
Yeah. So
Because we can go
as
more into detail about that, but
as you can see, like
yeah,
Andy and I are in the same age. He's
right.
22 too, and nowadays, like people criticize like um some trading influencer is too young, but Andy has really been outperformed. I think like 99.9% of trader out there.
Thank you.
Yeah, like do you want to talk about like how much you earn and why it makes you like people can learn from you?
Yeah, so some things I'll touch up upon is kind of like when you're like that kind of age. So like it's super realistic being 18, 19 years old and like starting to trade. You can open up a brokerage account, you have like a social security if you've had some jobs before. And it's kind of funny because there's some people that say like, oh, I started trading when I was like 15. And I was like, that's crazy. 15. I was playing video games. But yeah, that seems a little bit like out of the picture. I don't know how realistic that is, right? Like my parents would never like lend me a dollar or have me even trade a brokerage account, even if there was like a little bit of money involved, like nothing. And so yeah, I think like when you're 18 and 19, that's like a realistic age, like starting, and you can open up an account. Maybe you have some money saved up from some jobs, and that's kind of more realistic. And it does take, a few years to kind of, maybe depending on what the information you're learning and how you go about your journey, it can take like 4 or 5 years. And, when you're 22, 23-ish, 21, then you know a lot more. And when I first started, I was Yeah, one of the things was that I was starting and it did take time for me when it came to trading. So I was kind of always making money when I was trading because I kind of just started off small and I knew I was going to make a lot of mistakes. And the market at that time, there was a lot of momentum and hype. A lot again during COVID and things like that, stocks would just go up and up and up. And so one of the strategies that we were using was called a high day breakout. And so if you had a tech stock like Facebook or Tesla, and it would come back up to the high of the day, you could just buy the breakout and it would probably move up a little bit more or a lot more. And then you could just quickly sell and lock in money. And you could just do that over and over. And that's what I was doing. That's what a lot of other people were doing. And that's kind of how we were making money. And it was pretty easy, but markets change and strategies change, and that didn't really work out anymore. And so I was kind of always making money, but I started off small. I started off with trading options because I had like a cash account. I could take more trades and I could wait for it to settle. The money settled a lot quicker when you trade options opposed to trading cash and equity. And so that's kind of how I was able to take more trades. And I had like an $8,000 account, $14,000 account. I was still working at the time, saving up money, putting that in. And then later down the road, I had more money in my accounts and I took it slow. And once I started to see some more success, some more confidence, I started to take some more size and the numbers started to change pretty quickly. So, and I can, talk a little bit more about that, but that's kind of, yeah.
Definitely. So when you started your journey, and you're a lot of people at that time is focused on, Forex, CFD.
Right.
Like, what makes you want to focus on equity instead of trading those things? Because, your trading timeline is largely correlated with the prop firm is booming. A lot of people are trying
Yeah.
to get funded. What's your view on that?
Yeah, so it's an interesting time and place. And so something I'll say is again, when I started trading about 4 or 5 years ago, things were super different. Like you couldn't really find videos. There probably was some videos on Forex, but like funded accounts wasn't even a thing I heard of. Like I never heard such a thing of a funded account. That's only something that's been more new and kind of brought into kind of the game. And so like the only thing I knew was that, hey, I had to save up money. And again, Forex wasn't something I was into because again, like one of the big things with kind of these other markets is you do get funding. And again, no one ever talked, you would never find a video about funded accounts. And so I was like, hey, I just have to work and save up money. And I was first introduced to stocks. And so that's kind of what I traded. And stocks also kind of made sense to me. They were kind of like companies and things like that. But in the beginning of my trading journey, I was just drawing like trend lines and stuff. And now I kind of take things more serious about, okay, these are actual companies. You got to pay attention to the news. And so,
Wh-
yeah.
Why does it make you like what's the difference though? Why do you think like trading stocks can make you more profitable compared to, Forex and
Right. And so I think when it comes to stocks, it's just things make a little bit more sense to me, right? So like when we talk about maybe Forex and maybe like currencies, those markets are soup. There's a lot of money in those markets. And, there's, billions and billions of dollars and who knows what's going on, right? There could be people trying to hedge positions using the currency markets. There could be people doing all sorts of stuff. And so like really, I never really knew what was going on because you don't really just draw these zones and it makes sense. It's like, okay, there's certain things that affect currencies, right? Like at the end of the day, these are actual markets. Like this isn't just something where you draw zones and lines and you make money. It's like what are moving these currency prices? And a lot of that is just things in the world. It's geopolitical news. It's, things with currencies. It's other countries' economies. And so again, like who has access to that information and things like that, like it's people who have a lot more software. It's these people at these like huge companies that do these investments for their clients. They do like some own investments. And so somebody kind of sitting at home who's like even me 20 or 19 years old, like how are you, like do you really know what's going on? And so like it just doesn't make too much sense. But when it comes to stocks, there's a lot of things that you can take advantage of. So one of the things is like when we do have companies, they have news, like companies report news. And if you're fast enough, you can get that news on pretty much the same time frame as everybody else. Yeah, there's some people out there who get the news a little bit faster, but it's a much more fair chance at trading things. Things make more sense. Again, there's times where companies go bankrupt and you could take advantage of that. Forex, there's like who knows what's going on. And again, I don't know those markets too well, but there's so many things going on, and you just need all this information to really make a decision and put a bet on the markets that's really going to work out. When stocks, you could do a lot of different strategies when it comes to maybe trading small caps, trading the order flow, things like that make sense. You could be a news trader, so you could be trading news, and you could also be taking advantage of certain stocks. Like Tesla has a lot of momentum, and on days where Tesla is running up a lot or things like that, you do have some higher probability trades where you could play like an opening range breakout. And those trades are more likely to jump up on momentum if there's a lot of hype around Elon. So there's just a lot more things that make sense. And when it comes to stocks and companies and news and order flow trading and mean reversions, and when it comes to Forex or these other markets, like you really don't know what's like you need there's so much stuff going on and impacting those markets. How are you supposed to know and make money consistently with like some zones and lines, you know? Like
So what you're saying is like when you're trading forex or all these index, you're basically like competing with the larger player. Like they
yeah.
have more resource, like high frequency trading.
Right. And so that's a big thing. So like again, we're not the first people to, find a way to make money in the markets or try to make money in the markets. So again, a very long time ago before we had bucket shops back when we first started with like the first stock markets and things like that. So you would go to these bucket shops and they would just have these quotes and you would kind of trade with these tickets or you would kind of speculate with these ticket prices and things like that. But yeah, now there's like so much competition and it's super interesting because you might watch a video on somebody like in their room and they're making money and it's like, oh, like what is that? But the reality is there's like a lot of professionals like who've been doing this for a very long time. They have specific software, they have really good sources of news, they have billion-dollar and multi-million dollar clients that you have to move money around or you're hedging positions. And so there's just a lot of there's just a world you don't know about outside. And again, if you're learning from a guy who like is like trading in his room and he's super young, like you really got to fact check like who you're listening to, right? Like can this guy back up what he's saying? Does that make sense? Like is this guy just like doesn't know what he's talking about? Again, because there's professionals out there in this world and they have some very advanced stuff that they're using.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's probably the reason that I reach out to Andy because me personally, I got funded like 400K, right now 300K. And Andy, he doesn't have funding, but he grew his own account to like 400K.
Yeah, so again, when I had my trading account, I got over that PDT rule of 25,000. And when I was in college, in my kind of couple last years of college, because I was still trading throughout college, I wasn't making enough money to live from trading. I was making money from trading, but not that much. And so I was also trying to find other things to do in college, other different business models and things like that. And, trading started to go a little bit better. And then I started to find some things, understand the markets more, really find how can I have edge in the markets and make money from strategies that make sense but also work legitimately. And I was able to take my $25,000 trading account. And by the time I was graduating from college, I took that 25,000 and I turned it into 250,000. So about a quarter million. And from there, the growth kept on going. And in some of my current trading videos, you can see that I have, some of my videos, you can see I have a $200,000 account of my own money, and now it's in the 300,000s. And, I have pulled money, I've pulled over six figures from that account, and, there's still over $300,000 in that account. So I have a little bit of money. I have a little bit.
It might sound unbelievable, but if you go to like Andy's
Yeah.
channel, he's showing every single proof,
Yeah.
his broker statement is all there, you know, just like the real deal.
Yeah, so in all of my review videos, what I do is I'll open up my broker. So I use Charles Schwab, and I used to use TD Ameritrade, but Charles Schwab took over, TD Ameritrade, and so now everyone has a Schwab broker, and we all use the Thinkorswim platform kind of software. And people would ask me, "Hey, like, post your broker statements," and I do have broker statements on my Instagram page. But like even those are screenshots and you can like even edit them and they are edited because I have to blur out my name, my account number. And so like technically those are edited. And so the best thing that I can do, the most transparent thing I can do is go to my broker login, which, I log into my broker, I refresh the page so there's no like editing or like, indenting numbers. And I just refresh my page and I show how much money I made on the day, the number, I talk about the fees that I paid, and you can go to all my videos. Every review video, you can see like how my account has been growing. I refresh the page. Everything's super, super transparent.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I love about Andy.
Yeah.
He's super transparent and his growth is exponential. He be able to have a lot of times all
you.
green month and being able to pull money out the market every single day with extremely great figure. And do you want to talk about like your trading style?
Yeah, so we could talk about strategies. Yeah. So, yeah, when I first started, again, we were using that high of day breakout strategy.
Mhm.
And that, worked until it didn't work. And so, one thing I do talk about is when it comes to trading, a lot of the time, our strategies will sometimes lose edge.
Yeah.
So there's certain concepts in the markets like mean reversions that will probably always be around just because markets will panic, they'll be euphoric, and mean reversions will always be a concept in the markets. But when it comes to other strategies, there's certain things that will lose their edge. So strategies will work and work and work, and then they might not work as well. Maybe the markets change, and you have to adapt, and maybe you just tweak that strategy. But sometimes the strategy doesn't work altogether. And that's a reality that I would like to tell people. You don't really just find one strategy and that's that. You're kind of always working, tweaking strategies, finding new strategies to, stay profitable and even grow as a trader because some strategies can limit how much money you can make. And so in the beginning, it was that high of day trading strategy. And then from there, I started trading kind of just, chart patterns and chart setups. So I still kept trading options because I could use that as leverage in my trading account. And I would trade a lot of stocks like Tesla. And the reason Tesla, kept making me money was because Tesla just had a lot of range. Tesla had a lot of range, a lot of volume back when it was $1,000, $2,000 before they had their stock split. And because of that much range, you could really put on some scalping kind of trades and make some money. And all you had to do was trade kind of some of these patterns because a lot of the time Tesla would have these trend days and you could just play those continuation patterns when it consolidates and it has the next leg up or down. Trading call options and put options is what I would trade. And then from there, I would keep on trading large caps, but large caps became a lot tougher. So Tesla stopped having that range. They had a stock split. And I started to gravitate more towards maybe stocks that had earnings, just finding other kind of ways I could try to trade and make money. But I wasn't really as consistent and I wasn't really making that much money. Like I couldn't live off of that. And then I got into small caps and small caps started to And then I got into trading small caps. And the big difference between large caps and small caps was when you do have large caps, every single portfolio manager, every hedge fund, every financial analyst is watching those stocks because a lot of their investments and money for their clients, for managing that portfolio is in these large cap stocks, it's in these good companies. And so everybody's watching those stocks. So it's very hard to find maybe arbitrage opportunities or other ways of trading those stocks because there's a lot of stuff going on and everyone's kind of finding their own fair kind of fair pricings and doing their own management on those stocks. And you can trade those stocks and make money, but you only get those opportunities every now and then. Like you can't show up to the large cap market and make money every single day because that's what I was trying to do and it wasn't working. And so there are people that make money on those stocks, but those guys that I know of, they only take those 1 to 2 trades every now and then. And if you try to show up to the market every day and make money from those stocks, I wasn't that consistent in making money. And so, especially as a beginner, you want to be consistent. You want to be making money in the beginning because you have bills to pay. You want to save up money. You want to maybe open up some other trading accounts with other money and all sorts of stuff. So you want to be making money like consistently every day if you can. And so when I went to small caps, there was a lot less people watching those stocks. There was a lot more volatility. There was a lot more trades that you could take. There was a lot more opportunities in the day. If I would trade Tesla, maybe I'd put on one trade or two trades a day. But in these small caps, there's, 10 different stocks moving. There's, dozens of opportunities on each of those stocks. And so I could put on 100 trades a day. And to some people, that sounds crazy, putting on 100 trades a day, 200 trades a day. People are like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I'm supposed to take, just one or two trades. I have to be selective, right? And I'm still selective too. And I can still find 100 or 200 trades in a day. And so when you do take 100 trades or 200 trades in a day, if you have a 50% win rate and like a 1 to 2 risk to reward, you're pretty much going to make money every single day with those numbers. So just like how people take 1 to 2 trades in a day, as long as they have that 50% win rate or 1 to 2 risk reward, and with that 1 to 2 risk reward, they're going to make money in the long run. They might have a red day, but when you take 100 trades in a day with those statistics, you're most likely going to make money every single day. And that's how I have a lot of green days. Sometimes the whole entire month is green. And
Yeah, that's amazing. Like
yeah.
what Andy is really saying is that we as a retail trader, we need to participate in the market that will give us the most advantage to like exploit. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And you don't want to compete with the bigger players too
Right.
much. The opportunity is completely squeezed out. And for Andy's style of trading, like how do you place that much trade per day? Do you like manually clicking or you have like hotkeys or
Gotcha. Yeah. So it's a good question. And I'll go into the strategy a bit more. So when these small caps have a lot of range, they have a lot of volatility. But something super important is with the large caps, you have a lot of high frequency trading algorithms, and they're arbing out all these, they're doing all these arbitrage opportunities. And it makes it very hard to see what's going on because all these high frequency trading algorithms are, placing all these thousands and thousands of orders like every single second. And so it's hard to find those opportunities if you're looking at the order flow. Now, when it comes to small caps, a lot of hedge fund managers and big players, they don't watch those stocks because, again, even if they put on a small multi-million-dollar position, which that's small to them, it's going to affect the stock a lot because that stock has a small market cap, low shares outstanding. And so if you put on a multi-million-dollar position just like that, it's going to move that stock where you could throw $10 million in Tesla and it probably wouldn't move it that much because it's a multi-billion-dollar company. And so you start to see a lot more order flow numbers that you can take advantage of. And so if you're watching small caps, a lot of the times you can see what you'll find on the order flow is a big limit order to buy or sell. And when you see that, you have a little bit of time to react. And a lot of the times, some strategies that I use is depending on the context, sometimes I'll see a big buyer on the active trader or the level 2. I'll see in that order flow, I'll see, hey, someone's trying to buy a big amount of shares and they'll come in quick. And so if I'm fast enough, I can quickly market buy and join in with that big player. And again, because they have a big position and they put it on, if they start to get aggressive, it's going to move the stock up pretty fast. And any other algorithms with those small caps are going to react in the same way. And so you can also take advantage of those small price movements and it happens fast. And again, that's kind of how I'm taking a bunch of these trades, utilizing the order flow, some other kind of strategies within. And that's kind of how I'm taking, dozens and dozens of trades because they have that range, volatility, and you can really understand the order flow.
yeah, so you're basically trading the momentum
Right.
and you try to capture a small like exponential price movement and trying to get in and get out really fast. Like what's your average like holding time and
Yeah. So there's a couple strategies I use for the most part, my holding time is really short. It's usually less than a minute, right? So again, small caps are moving very fast, a lot of percentages at a time. So you won't ever find Tesla moving 5% in 1 minute. It's too much money to move the stock that much. You need billions of dollars to move that stock kind of that much. Where if a small cap has a market cap of 10 million shares, you only need a few $100,000 to move that stock. And if there's a bunch of other people trading 10,000, 15,000, $20,000, equity positions at a time, it's going to, move the stock, affect it. And so, what you'll see is when we have these momentum moves, you can really quickly get in and out. And that's kind of, you can stack up those small profits. And it's also a risk management strategy because as long as that momentum's there, you can quickly be in profit. And you can also manage risk because if it starts to come back down on you, you're just going to just get out the position because the momentum's kind of fading out. And so holding times are pretty short, sometimes a bit longer, depending on some other strategies. But
Yeah, that's a great eye opener for me. Like in the prop firm space, a lot of people are saying like you need to place less trade in order
right.
to make more money. But Andy for me is
Yeah.
like a living proof.
I'm an anomaly,
Yeah,
right?
he make it work. And so a lot of people are, concerned about if you place a bunch of trade, how do you manage risk? How do you like prevent you from over trading,
Yeah.
your
And
emotional,
yeah, and something I want to talk about is this is a great question to touch on the topic of psychology and trading strategy. So, for the longest time, I was unprofitable because every video I would watch, people would say, "Hey, like your trading strategy works. You need to fix your mindset. It's a psychology thing." And every trade I took, I was like, okay, sometimes I would win, and when I had a winning trade, I would say, "Hey, that was the strategy. That my strategy works." And when I had a losing trade, I was like, no, I was feeling off. I wasn't, I didn't have enough sleep. So we'll scratch that trade out. We'll keep on going. And for the longest time, I was doing that and I wasn't, consistent. I was still struggling. And I was like, it was just my mindset that day. I need to fix my mindset. And that's why I was unprofitable for so long because my trading strategy really didn't work. And a lot of the time I had losing trades, which was part of the strategy, but I was like, that wasn't a valid entry because my mindset was off. And something I'll touch up upon is I used to trade with a guy back in the day, and his psychology was horrible. Like this guy would bag hold positions, he would revenge trade, he would go from risking $100 a trade to risking, $1,000, $5,000 on a trade, like some crazy swings. He was a super emotional trader. Like as soon as he got frustrated, there was a situation where he had like 15 green days in a row. And on the 16th day, the market was going to close and he wasn't green. He was he had a small red day. But he started throwing these huge risks just to stay profitable on the day. And he lost, maybe he makes $1,000 or $2,000 in a day. And that day he lost like 5,000. But that guy was super profitable. So
is it because of the strategy?
it's because his strategy had so much edge. So even though even though people say overtrading is bad, and that's totally true, because my strategy and the strategy some of the other guys use is so profitable, you can overtrade, you can have horrible psychology, you can backfill positions, and you'll still be profitable. You will still be profitable. And so that's because the trading strategy has so much edge. It just works so well that even doing all those bad things you would still be profitable. And that was a mind opener because I traded with a guy who traded super similar to me and he had horrible psychology, but he was making still he was so profitable. And I was like, that's crazy, bro. Like you bag hold positions and you revenge trade like crazy and you oversize, and he was still super profitable. And it's because the trading strategy had so much edge. And so
Yeah, so what you're saying is that you're not encourage all those activity, right? Obviously,
right.
but you want to get into a position that you discover, you do the work, you have a strategy that is so profitable that enables you to make a couple of mistakes and you can still make money.
And that's how you know you have a strategy that actually works, because I make a lot of mistakes, but I'm still super profitable. There's times I overtrade because, again, when you take 100 trades or 200 trades in a day, how do you not overtrade? And to be honest, I do overtrade. Like, that does happen. There's definitely trades I shouldn't have taken.
Hmm.
There's definitely trades that I should have avoided, but I'm still super, super profitable because that strategy works so well. And so, yeah, you eventually get to a point where your psychology is good. You don't bag hold positions. You're not emotional. But again, that's how you know sometimes that's a great, indication if you have a profitable strategy, if you do bag hold and you do make mistakes, but you're still super profitable throughout the long run. So it's that equity curve. You want to see that equity curve continue to go up and up, if that's in a week, a month, and over time. And so a lot of the times, if I was to talk to most people, I would probably say double check your trading strategy, see if it really works, because I highly doubt it's your psychology, because for the longest time I thought it was my psychology and it was completely not. And until I did the work and really found a trading strategy that had edge, that worked, that's when I had a big turning point. And if it wasn't for me finding a trading strategy that really worked and had edge, which again, the hard part is finding a strategy that works. A lot of people's strategies just won't work because it just doesn't make sense when they think it makes sense. Uh, I probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that.
I would say, like, beside the strategy,
Yeah.
it's important to participate in the market that you actually can find a
Right.
meaningful return from your strategy, right?
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm profitable in some way by trading S&P 500 index, but I know the limitation is there. I'm not be able to make that much money as Andy. And so when you say, like, make sure you have a profitable strategy, like, how do you backtest it? Because your style is kind of like um, discretionary a little bit. And for me, when I make sure that my strategy is like actually have an edge, I'm trading like almost like mechanical. I'm backtesting and just like black and white answer. Like, how do you make sure you?
Yeah, and that's very good. And I would say if everyone can backtest,
Hmm.
that would be good. And some people might backtest, and you also gotta have some common sense. So one trader that I closely listen to, he said, backtesting is great, but again, one of the biggest things in the stock market is news. So how would you backtest for news? And a lot of times that's pretty difficult. You can backtest maybe a mean reversion strategy. Hey, this stock has gone up too much. Like, when does, like, you can back test and see how high does it typically go for a stock in that market cap. And, if that fits that criteria, how big is the correction or the mean reversion and things like that. But a lot of the time you can't quite back test for news. It's kind of hard to, factor in news. And so something I would say is, with the strategy that I use, there's not really quite a way to, it can be very tough to backtest that. But it makes sense because when you trade the order flow, you can see those trades work out and you can say, hey, like, my risk reward is so much higher on these trades and the higher probability is just there. And you can use like platforms like TraderView, a bunch of other ones to track your metrics. But you want to also make sure that you're differentiating between which trades are part of kind of the trading strategy you use and which trades are kind of like just random. And so it can be a little bit tough, but it's very good when you can kind of track some of these things and you don't always have to backtest. Some of those strategies are a bit discretionary.
Exactly. So a lot of times you just like forward testing and maybe like, and I would say, like, what Andy is doing, like, he's relying on data that is like actually reliable, because a lot of people, like, in the forex space, whatever, they're drawing the lines and they're drawing whatever. But what Andy is trading, he's using the order
Yeah.
flow, the level two. Do you want to talk about like what kind of, like, what is order flow or what
Yeah.
level two?
So, at the end of the day, we're trading a market.
Mhm.
So you have buyers and sellers. Those are pretty much the main participants. And you can go more into detail about intermediaries and market makers, but for the most part, you have buyers and sellers. And so we don't have to complicate things. We can leave that to the strategies, but keeping things simple, when would a stock go up? When would a stock go down? And so something that some people kind of confuse is like, oh, there's more buyers, that's why the stock goes up, or there's more sellers, that's why it goes down. And it's just whoever gets more aggressive. It's more aggressive buyers and sellers because
What you mean by that?
yeah. So we want to understand the infrastructure of the stock market. So when you dive deeper, just like if you were to buy any other asset or security, like if you were going to go buy a house, you can only buy from a house from somebody who's selling it. There has to be somebody out selling a house for you to buy it. And it's the same thing with stocks. If I wanted to buy 100 shares of Apple stock, somebody has to sell me 100 shares for me to buy it. So again, there's a limited quantity of shares, shares outstanding, the shares float. And so that's why we have market makers. They provide that. But if we didn't have market makers, I would show up to like, let's say if I wanted to buy Apple stock right now, it would be super inefficient if you were selling it but you wanted to sell it at 150 bucks and I want to buy it at 140. Like there would be and we would have to do that at the same time. I would have to show up and there would have to be someone selling it, and it would just be super inefficient. So that's why we have market makers. And to make things simple, they provide liquidity. But if a stock is going to go up, there's going to be a lot of aggressive buyers that continue to buy higher prices. And anytime the stock pulls back, more aggressive buyers come in, and that's why stocks would, ideally go up. And maybe they go up because of momentum, maybe they go up because of news. But either way, a stock's only going to go up if there's aggressive buyers or aggressive sellers. And an easy way to kind of like picture this is, okay, if a stock was going bankrupt, there's a lot of people, aggressively selling. Like imagine everyone found out that Tesla is going bankrupt. Tesla was a whole fraud. Elon got kidnapped and people don't know if he's alive, and the company's going under, and let's say something crazy happened. Everybody would go to that stock and aggressively sell, and no one would really want to buy that stock, and that stock would go down. But again, the market makers are the ones buying the stock from those people, because if I wanted to sell my Tesla stock, someone has to buy it. So who buys it? The market makers are providing that liquidity, and that's why we have a market spread, because the market makers can use that spread as a profit and offset the risk when they provide liquidity. And so the order flow is super important because you can see those orders. You can see big orders, small orders, and it gets a little more complex, but that's why I trade order flow, because it makes sense.
Yeah, you basically can see the orders going through in real time, and yeah, it's a reliable strategy, not just relying on some fiction, trend lines, some stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, because at the end of the day, trend lines make sense in certain markets. Like if you trade commodities, if you're trading corn or, cocoa or whatever, a lot of those, crops or commodities they will have seasonality movements. And so those seasons will have a trend, and, you can use trend lines and other trend kind of indicators to help you. But when it comes to stocks, trend lines and, things like that just it doesn't really matter, because again, we want to think about the big picture. We have hedge fund managers, we have portfolio managers, and we have financial analysts, and they're all looking at the earnings per share, the future forecast. That's how they base the price of all these stocks. They base it off those, not just trend lines or moving averages, right? They're not speculating, they're actually running these reports. And that's the reality of how they find these pricings and all sorts of stuff. They react to news. Hey, there's really good news on this stock. This could be good for the future. And so trend lines don't mean too much, but utilizing the order flow, it's like having a major advantage, because you can know that, okay, buyers are aggressive, stock's going to move up, we have aggressive sellers, prices moving down. It makes sense. A trend line in the reality just doesn't make sense. A zone, it might be used for a reference, but that's not really a qualified trade. Like you need more context and things like that. So order flow makes sense. It's actual orders. It's a market.
Exactly. And going back
Yeah.
to the analogy of, somebody's buying 100 shares and
Right.
somebody, you need somebody that's willing to sell it too, right? And that kind of go back to, the bigger player cannot really participate in these like small market because nobody's willing to get onto the other side, right?
Right. And a lot of the time it's, a lot of small cap companies are smaller companies. And so they might not have a whole lot of, money and they're small market caps, they're small companies, they still want to grow. And so hedge fund managers, portfolio managers, they're managing billions of dollars. And, they can realistically move that money, more safely in large cap stocks, in bonds, in options, derivatives, things like that. But when you have a small cap company, when you're putting that kind of money on the stock, especially if you want to get filled just like that, it's going to greatly affect the stock. And it's just too much risk, right? It's too much risk because they could put on a big position, it's going to move the whole stock. Or if they wanted to sell a big position, they're going to lose so much money because they're probably going to want to sell aggressively or things like that. And just like any kind of selling would greatly affect that stock. And a lot of the time they're managing such big money that they have to move into these higher liquid, bigger market cap investments to move that money around safely. So
So yeah, that's important for you to,
yeah,
trying to compete in a marketplace that your your opponent is not too smart, not too big, not
yeah,
like hedge funds. Yeah, so you can take the most advantage of. Yeah, maybe. And yeah, I saw you like in your video, you talk a lot about you have your trading Discord, you're having a community that pushes each other. How important is that for you?
yeah. So one thing I'll talk about is I'm in probably like several different discords that I'm involved in, and some are more exclusive. And one thing I'll say is I'll talk about the more exclusive ones, but it's super important to surround yourself with also other traders that are legit, right? And the most legit traders that I found and learned from, they were all, from Twitter. They were super low key. None of them, like 99% of them, don't have YouTube channels. I don't know their social medias. Nobody knows who these guys are. And I was lucky. I was able to find a guy on YouTube at the time who was making some trading content. He had a trading Discord, and I was able to get in contact, learn some things from him, ask him questions. And when his strategy started to do really well, and he found out like, hey, the strategy works really well, there's a lot of edge, he took down all his videos.
Really?
Yeah,
Damn.
he took down every single live stream he had. He took down
Do
a
you
lot.
save it?
No, I
Oh.
didn't know. And that's something that's super important because making money in the markets, it's really not that easy. So that's why when you see like some kid at home who's maybe trading or like a zone and he's like, yeah, I just made, this much money in a couple minutes. It's possible, but a lot of those people are like, yeah. Like it's the at the end of the day, it's really hard to make money from the markets. And it's possible, but you need to have edge. A lot of people aren't willing to share those strategies. So a lot of the guys I know that are making money, even in some of these exclusive discords, some of these guys are making millions of dollars a year. But even in the exclusive discords I'm in with them, they're very low key about certain things. If you were to reach out and say, hey, what did you exactly buy and sell? They won't,
Why would they tell you?
yeah, they won't quite tell you. They're there to help you, maybe give you tips. But even those guys are very subtle because, again,
They don't need your attention.
right. And
You
and
got
like
it.
we're competing for liquidity,
Mhm.
because those small caps, some guys, the less people that know about the strategy, the more maybe shares they can buy, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
if they're able to get into the stock with 50,000 shares, that's awesome. But what if I find out? Then maybe I'm going to try to take 50,000 and then things can start to change. We're competing against each other. I want to get those good fill prices. And so it gets more competitive. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So a lot of people stay low key about, trading strategies and things like that. But it's super important being around a network because you can kind of build off of other people. You can see how different people trade. And a lot of the times I used to kind of just trade the momentum for, a little bit in the morning, and because of the other traders I was surrounded by, I was finding out that, hey, there's still opportunities when the market's slow. Like even in the midday session in the stock market, there's still some scalp opportunities that I could find. There's still some opportunities where I can, find some stocks that are moving, but I can still exploit the order flow. And, that helped me a lot. And one thing I'll touch up upon too is a lot of those guys, it was never a signals thing. It was never like, hey, Andy,
Stop loss this,
yeah,
take
like
profit
put your
this.
stop loss here, enter there. A lot of it was like, hey, we had a similar trading style. I know what works for me. Maybe I'm a little bit more selective. Maybe someone's a little more aggressive in trading. And sometimes I would be trading a stock that's hard to make money on. And I would be in a Discord with some buddies, and they'll be like, bro, like stop trading that stock. Trade this stock. The momentum's sweet on it, super easy to read. And I would go trade that stock. And it wasn't even a signal. It's like buy this here. It was kind of like we just watch it, trade it, and I would make like $1,000. And it's because we all had edge, we had similar trading styles, we were trading the order flow, and that's all I needed was, hey, like this is the stock to focus on. Don't focus on that stock. The volume's like super low. Trade this one, and just by doing that, help me make thousands and thousands. And now I'm at a point where a lot of the guys in the discords, they put up a lot of big numbers. And so all of us that were on the smaller, which smaller means making 1,000, 2,000, $3,000 a day, we start to push ourselves. And a lot, like these past couple of months, sometimes it's normal having a $5,000 trading day, and sometimes having a bad trading day is like $2,000. And I wouldn't have been at that point if I wasn't surrounded by all these other guys that were putting up big numbers, and they also push you to take more size and stop being, you know, you know,
Competing, like push yourself.
yeah, like push yourself, and you need that too, but you won't know what's possible unless if you see other people doing that. So super important.
It's super important to push yourself, a lot of times when you get into trading, you see the broker statement, like not necessarily, but like the broker on the website, 90% or whatever trade or fail, and you just need that person that makes you believe that it's possible. And when you talk about like all these like really profitable traders that are very low key, they don't need your attention. They already got it. Like it's a yeah, and then why do you start your YouTube channel though? Like, if you're really profitable, yeah. Well, why do you show your strategy? Like, what's your purpose and what's your purpose for your channel?
Yeah. So one of the things was that trading was great. One of the things trading helped me get away from was like doing a 9 to 5, right? Or kind of a corporate job. So I did go to college and I did graduate, previously in May. And, I do have a bachelor's degree in finance, but I always wanted to do something else, right? I didn't want to work a job where like I was limited. And I've also worked other jobs before, and
You just taste it. You don't
yeah,
want.
like I could see what was happening. If the boss had favorites, if you wanted to get a promotion,
You gotta kiss
some
ass.
right, yeah. Like if you wanted to get a promotion, like you could be more qualified for a job, but maybe your boss likes, somebody else and they get the promotion. And I was just like, that really sucks. And I don't, I'm not gonna kiss my boss's ass, I'm not gonna do that. I like to treat people with respect, and that's how I like to be treated too. And a lot of times you can treat your boss with respect, and they don't always do that. I could go into some wild stories about that I've had in the workplace, but um like I've been threatened before from my boss about losing my
Damn.
job. Yeah. So it gets real up in there. And so one of the biggest things was like I didn't kind of want that life, and I also wanted something where I wasn't limited by how much I could grow. And that could be maybe money, that could be maybe like person, like maybe characteristics wise. And one big thing was money, like a lot of the times I had a work ethic like no one else. A lot of the times I would work overtime at some of my warehouse jobs to save up for my trading account. So I would work 50-hour, 60-hour weeks while I was still in college. So some crazy things, and no one else was doing that. And I try to find other people, but I was kind of like the only one with that work ethic and drive. And so would I rather work 50 hours for someone or bet on myself as an entrepreneur and see what could happen? And one of the best things about the market is there's not really a limit to like how much you can grow and things like that. And one of the biggest things was I was first inspired to get into trading. Inspiration can push people to do a lot of things. It could motivate people. It could show people what's possible. It can give you hope. And one of the things was that for the longest time, I was comparing myself to other people. And, I was surrounded by other people who were making millions a year, low key guys. And I was like, me making $1,000 a day, 2,000, that's nothing. That's so basic. But now I was like what I did was, it was different. Trading in college, turning 25,000 into 250,000, that's different. And I started to make some videos and people would say, "Hey, like you're an inspiration."
Yeah.
And that's amazing because even if I could just make videos and inspire people, motivate people, even if somebody just, wants to give a chance at trading, because I'm not the type of guy who's going to be like, you can't trade. You could do anything. Like a lot of people said I couldn't do this and make it possible. And I did. And that's crazy because people's words can, that can come from family. And some of those things did come from family. Some, family members said you can't do this, it's not possible, it's not realistic. And that could be tough, coming from family, from people who should support you. And you want those people to support you. And I hope everybody watching this video, I hope that their family and friends support them because I know what it's like to not have that support. And having people say, "Hey, you're an inspiration," is amazing. It's amazing to hear. And I'm super grateful for that, to inspire people, motivate them. And that was kind of one of the biggest reasons I started, making content, putting myself out there. Another reason was to connect with people. So again, I was like a loner in college and like I couldn't find other people that were doing something. It didn't even have to be trading. Like, were you in
Just that mindset,
right
entrepreneurship,
that
right?
mindset? Like,
Like,
did you try starting a business? Are you into real estate? Did you try something? I try to find people like that, and
not even in here in the States.
no, it was tough. So
Yeah, that's amazing though that you prove them
yeah,
wrong and prove yourself right. When you talk about, when you go to college, like I remember in the video you talk about you didn't go to your graduate ceremony, and
yeah,
on that day you made like nearly like 10K, and then
yeah,
the day before you made even more.
yeah.
You know, you definitely come a long way, yeah, right?
Thank you.
So,
Yeah, and I'll touch upon that. Yeah, so yeah, pretty wild growth, and yeah, one of the things about being markets or about being a trader is you are competitive. So I was trading really well. The market was very hot in the month of May for small caps. The market was really hot, and I was trading super well. And again, I have some, my mom is very supportive, has been supportive, even though she doesn't really know what I do.
yeah,
I try to tell
I
her
just
not,
make money.
yeah, I try to tell her not too much because
Away.
it's very hard for parents and the older generation to understand what's happening now, to make money in the markets, to kind of conduct a business is like super foreign to them. All they've really known is like, if you want to make money, you go to college, you get a good degree, good job, which is great, but times have changed, that the world has changed, and it's very possible to do this, trading thing as full time and as a professional, but to them that's very foreign.
Yeah,
And to my mom, I don't want her knowing how much money I make because there are months that are going to be slow. There are months that are going to be hot. And I don't, again, to her, if I make 30,000 in a month, she'll be like, nice. And maybe the next month is slow and I make 10,000. She might be like, oh, like,
what's going on?
what's going on? And that's just how the market is. That's what we signed up for. Our job is to take advantage of those opportunities. And that's something I talk a lot about is in a trading day, if you had the opportunity, maybe you made $5,000 in one single trading session, but is that a good day? Well, what if you had the opportunity to make 10,000, right? And that's how I base my trading days. So it's never a good day if I just made money. It's a good day if I capitalize on the opportunities that were present. So there's been days where I've made $7,000, $10,000 in a single day, but I could have made so much more, and that's a bad day. And there's also days where I only made like $3,000, but that's a very good day because I was able to capitalize on all the opportunities that were present.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
Um, so when you say like you have a finance degree, like
Right.
if somebody is a newbie, do you think like they want to get into trading, they need to like, the finance degree is like useful for you, or do you like what do you
Yeah.
suggest?
So it's a good question. So a lot of people say like, hey, college, you don't need to go to college to trade, and then, you can do things like that. And I would say it's very interesting who you listen to. There's people that say like, oh, I was an ex-convict and then now I trade and I'm a super profitable trader. And it's super important to know like, who you're learning from, who's educating you. And something important is college did help to an extent, because a lot of the times when I trade, hey, like I would use trend lines or these other zones, and I would draw these levels, and I would be like, hey, like this stuff works. But that stuff doesn't really work. Like that's how I thought trading was. But when you come to understand stocks, these are actual companies, right? These are actual companies. They have a full entire team of employees. They have a CEO, they have these earnings reports, these companies report news. And so when I was in some of my finance classes, we would talk more about kind of how you would analyze stocks as an analyst, or what does a portfolio manager do. And so it gave me a different perspective of like, hey, this isn't just like I'm trading based off a trend line and the stock should bounce here and we should hold support, but it's more of like, this is a company, what's the news? Why is it going up? Why is it going down? Maybe it's just a bunch of noise. Like there's not really an opportunity there. And a lot of the time we want to focus on opportunities. If I was to show up to any stock in the market, I probably wouldn't make money on it. Like if I showed up and tried to trade a random stock, I'd probably lose money. I focus on a very specific set of stocks that are moving, and usually they have momentum, and that's how I can exploit and utilize a strategy that makes me money. So college helped me because in those classes, I looked at trading from a standpoint of, okay, it helped me better understand the infrastructure of the stock market. It better helped me understand that it's not just a bunch of lines, moving averages, indicators. It's companies, it's news, it's about, stocks having, why is the stock moving up or down? How do market makers, play a role in the markets? How does the option markets affect stocks? So it really helped me understand the infrastructure better, which is super important because you need to understand what you're trading, why you're trading, how it moves. That education is super, super important.
Exactly. So it helps you like knowing all the like the whole picture. Like when you like trying to trade something, you want to know like the whole like mechanism.
Right. Yeah. So like when I'm trading a stock, a lot of the times it's like I focus on things that matter. So does the stock have news? Why is the stock moving up and down so much? Is there more range? Why did it gap up or down? And usually it's because some news. Again, we're dealing with stocks, and what do companies do? Well, they report news.
Mhm.
Like if something's going on bad with the company or good, a journalist is going to write it up and report on it and release that news. So it's important to use news softwares, and again, having scanners that will show you, hey, this stock had unusual volume. That's a good telltale sign to be like, hey, something interesting is going on with this stock. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to make money, but hey, this stock has unusual volume. So there's unusual activity. What's going on? And again, we want to find reasons of why will this stock go up and down. In the markets, I will be honest, I used to look at it in a probabilistic manner, but now I'm kind of more at a point where there's certain things that should happen in the market. So market makers have a specific way of hedging option contracts. They use that by hedging by buying or selling shares on the stock market. If stocks have a certain float or they're halting, there's certain things that should happen, shouldn't happen. And a lot of those times you have a higher probability of understanding of what should happen. And so a lot of the times when I do trade based off of order flow, I a lot of the times I have a really good idea of what should happen. I'm not going to sit here and say, "Hey, like I know exactly 100% this is going to happen," but you get to a point where you really understand the market, the infrastructure, and trading with order flow. If I know someone's trying to buy a bunch of shares of the stock, it's probably going to go up, and if I'm in at the right areas and I see them in the order flow, there's a really good chance that the trade's going to work out. And even if I'm shorting the stock, if the stock has if the stock is gapping down and there's a lot of selling pressure, again, when you have a big portfolio manager, for example, they don't sell their whole position at once. Sometimes they have maybe a sell algo. So maybe it sells portions of stock based on the volume, or maybe it's based on a time frame. And so sometimes you can see a trend start to happen intraday. And so there's things that should happen, shouldn't happen. You can utilize news, all these different things to help with that. And that's important.
That's amazing. So you have like a lot of chart time, a lot of experience for you
Yeah.
to be able to, pick up all these like intricate details.
Right.
Yeah. And when I see like you posted on your Instagram, you have like your equity curve,
Yeah.
and like the first like I don't know 3 years is relatively like in a flat. Like what changes that makes you have like the exponential growth? Is it like just you change the market that you trade, or like the style? Like do you
Yeah.
figure out the profitable strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question, and the biggest thing was the change in strategy.
Mm.
And so again, I was always kind of profitable. I didn't start off being unprofitable. I took it slow. I knew I was going to make mistakes. I didn't just jump into things, and I took it slow. I was risking small amounts, and again, I was using a strategy that was working at the time, and then things changed. But yeah, I did have that exponential growth because that strategy had a lot more edge, and I started to up my size. So, something that we talk about in the market is going back to that strategy. Who knows how long strategies are going to be around for? Because, again, the more people that find out about certain strategies, then again, like we're competing against each other for shares, for liquidity, especially in small caps. That matters a lot. And so these strategies start to, maybe you need to tweak them. They start to change a little bit. You need to adjust. Maybe it could be the way it moves. Maybe it could be certain trade patterns or chart patterns that you might start to see. And so that change in strategy helped me grow, and also risking more. So when you have something that works and you have confidence, it's time to step it up and risk more money, because who knows how long that strategy is going to be around for. And so you want to make sure you're grabbing as much money as you can in a safe manner. Again, you don't want to start sizing up, and maybe the strategy is causing you to lose money because maybe that liquidity, maybe you're starting to get slippage. That could be a factor when in the strategy I use, if I take too much size, I will get slippage, and that affects the trade in a negative way, and that starts to lead into an unprofitable strategy. And so, sizing up safely and continuing to push yourself, maybe adjusting the strategy a little bit, maybe some longer hold times. That started to help my equity curve grow exponentially. And I also was learning other strategies. So, being that I do this full time, I want to make sure that my main job is to make sure I do this full time. So I need to make sure I have money saved up. I need to make sure that, hey, I might go through a drawdown at some point. I might have an unprofitable month or two. Do I have enough money saved up on the side to pay for my expenses? And also, another thing is, too, why would that happen? Maybe the trading strategy I use loses its edge and it completely doesn't work anymore. And so I started to build other trading strategies that worked. So I do. A lot of people know me for scalping and scalping small caps, penny stocks. But I do have other strategies like mean reversion trading, and I have a great YouTube video that I posted the other day on that. And so mean reversion trading strategies is another strategy that's completely different than the scalping I do, and it's a different style, different nuances, and that also helped with that growth too because I had other strategies that were bringing me more profits.
That's amazing, man. Um,
Yeah.
what about what's your like the darkest moment in your trading journey?
That's a good question. Yeah. I would say the darkest moment in my trading strategy, there was two dark moments. And one of the darkest moments I had was when I was trading in college. So, a little more than a year before I graduated from college, I was still trading, and I was making money. So, for my whole entire 3 years, I was making money from trading, or 3 to 5 years when I go back. I was making money throughout trading. I made money every single year. But my first 1, 2, 3 years, it wasn't enough to do that full time. So a year before I graduated college, a little more than a year, I was like, hey, I need to, what happens when I graduate? I'm going to trade part time and I'm going to have to get some kind of other job. And that's okay. But I knew that the reality would be that I would start to get caught up in the corporate life and I might not have the time to trade and fully focus on it because I'm a firm believer the more time you spend with trading, the better you get. And we can also talk about the charts and spending 1 to 2 hours and that'll be interesting. But that was a dark moment because I knew like if I didn't start making money seriously from trading, I might have to do something part-time and I would have less time to spend on trading and then maybe the corporate life takes over and then trading is just it was just a dream. And that was dark because I wanted to do anything but do some corporate job and so it was a very dark time. It
Mhm.
was tough to pull through, but we did it and I'm very happy and proud of the old Andy because that's something very tough to go through. And there's other people that have gone through that and maybe they have made it out on the other side, maybe they haven't.
You definitely spend a lot of time, in this journey. And the thing you talk about is like when you get into the corporate world, you know, this you might not have that much time, right? And you need to spend time focus on your job too. And
Yeah.
so for you, like what age do you think is the best time to get into trading, and how will you get started? And yeah.
Yeah, and I'll also touch upon the second darkest time too. But yeah, that was a dark time because the older you get, the more kind of responsibilities you have, and I know people that might have families and kids, and trading can be tough because they have to dedicate time towards their kids, other things, and so that was a dark time when I was getting closer to that corporate job and. I wasn't sure if I would be able to trade. And then what would I do? I might be stuck. And so that was tough. And in the second darkest moment that I had was after I was profitable, I knew that, strategies do lose their edge. They do stop working from time to time. And I think maybe we were having a slower market during that time because I was thinking of this. And the reason that's bad is because you start to think if you just got lucky. Did I just get lucky? What happens when the strategy stops working? And that was kind of a dark moment too, because I was like I only got lucky with trading. I had a strategy that worked, and what if it stops working? What am I going to do? How am I going to make money? How long is it going to take me? Because it took me 3 years, 4 years to find a strategy that was working. So if that strategy stops working, how long is it going to take now for me to find a new strategy that works? Is it going to be another 3 years? Another 4 years? Is it going to be 2 years? And so the way I overcame that was I started to develop other strategies early on. So even though I still use the same strategy and it's still extremely profitable, and I think we're having some hot markets, that's why it's doing so well. I have developed other strategies, mean reversion strategies, and that's one reason I started to look into other strategies because there are strategies that die out over time, lose their edge. And so I overcame that dark moment by building other strategies and also having a network. So I found other traders they also had similar styles, but also different styles, and they also had different strategies. And I knew that if I was in a bad time, I could rely on those guys, which I'm not going to say their names and
No.
things like that, but I could rely on my trading network and I could be like, "Hey guys, like I'm going through a drawdown. Any tips? What are some trades that you're utilizing?" And for example, the mean reversion trade that I took on stock MSTR the other day, which I have a video on,
Yeah,
one of those
so
one of those trade ideas stemmed from my trading group. So some of those guys were saying, "Hey, this is a great opportunity for a short trade." And again, it wasn't a signals. I took my own trade idea, but that was an idea that stemmed from that group and I made about $9,000 on that stock trading the options and equities. And so that's something that was, helpful. And so building other strategies and having my network helped me overcome my second dark moment in trading because I now know that whatever happens, I have the skills, I have the ability, I have the network to continue staying profitable and, continuing doing this for the long game, because that's what we want to do. We want to stay in this for the long game. And
Exactly.
then the corporate job question, that was the,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I want to touch on like for your second dark moment, like which year is this, and
gotcha.
is it just like a realization, or is it actually like your strategy is actually losing an edge? And how much
Yes.
money you already made at that point?
Perfect. Yes. So that first dark moment came in about almost 2 years ago, give or take. It was, I have already graduated college right now, but a year before I graduated college was that first dark moment of, hey, I need to find something soon, and I also started to jump into other business ideas and things like that. But my second dark moment was actually probably this year, and so I believe there was a month that was just slower. It might have been maybe earlier in the year, or maybe a little bit kind of more. It wasn't something too recent, but it was something that I was like, hey, we had a slower month, and the strategy was not necessarily losing its edge, because I now know that it was just a slower market period. So it could have been because I was using the strategy and I was new to it. I wasn't sure if the strategy was losing edge or if it was just the market conditions. And it was just the market conditions. So we were having a slower month for that month. I don't quite remember which month, but I wasn't making as much money. There wasn't as much opportunities, and it was because it was just a slower market condition. In the past 2 months have been, I would say, probably some of my best months, but that's also because I've used some other strategies. There could be some other factors in there as well, but also this strategy, it's been some hot market months. And so yeah, that second dark moment was earlier this year. And yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. So going back to the question that what's the best time for you, to really start learning to trade, and how will you get started?
Yeah, so I obviously think the younger you are, the better. And again, yeah, I think, yeah, the younger you are, the better. And so the less responsibilities you have also, and that also applies with age. When you're younger, you have a lot more time. Maybe you just do school, and that could be a lot, but it's a lot more when you have a family and taxes and all. It gets a lot. It gets a lot more. So the best time is when you're young. You have more time, and you can use that time to build skills, and that's super super important. And if I was beginning, one thing I would say is finding people that are legitimately making money. And there are people who do sell services and things that do legitimately make money, but there's also a lot of noise out there. And that's just the reality of it, because it's super easy to get into trading. You can open up a brokerage account because they let anyone invest. But a lot of people will speculate and trade, and they will kind of act or talk that they kind of know about trading, and they just give you misinformation. And so it's just super important to listen to people who are legit, who you believe in, who you want to follow, who your mindset aligns with them. It doesn't really matter who, it just matters if those people are legit, understand the information they're saying, ask them to elaborate on stuff. Trading can vary different, person to person. And yeah, I'm a firm believer that the younger you are, the better. The more time you have, and the more reps and the more time you spend on something, the better you get. So, if we were to touch up upon, there are some traders out there and influencers that say, hey, you need to spend less time on the charts. Hey, you only want to trade 1 to 2 hours a day. And that sounds great, because, hey, if I could trade for 1, 2 hours and I can enjoy the rest of my day, I could take my car out for a night. I could take the sports car out on the road. I can, do a bunch of stuff, go out to eat. I could network. I could travel. So it sounds great on paper, but the reality is that this isn't competitive. And so one thing is, the reason I work, 12, 14 hours a day is because I know that I'm going to outcompete all the other people. And the reality is, like, if you don't put in the work, then there's going to be people that are going to get better than you. They're going to get more competitive, and they're going to maybe drive you out the market. Because what happens if your strategy loses edge? Well, if you were working 4 hours a day or 1 to 2 hours a day trading, the guy who's working 12 or 14 hours, he's the one who's going to have more strategies built. He's the one who's going to have a network. He's the one who's going to understand markets better. And he's going to his trading journey is going to continue to thrive. And so, he's going to outcompete the guy who doesn't spend that much time. And I want to compare trading to anything else. Working out, being an athlete, relationships. The more time you spend on something, the better it is. The more time you spend playing basketball, just like Kobe. Kobe said he would wake up earlier to get another one or two trading basket, or to get another not trading. He would wake up earlier to get another 1 to 2 basketball sessions in, and over 4 or 5 years, he would just, no one else would be able to catch up to him. And it's the same thing like that. He was spending more time playing basketball. That's how he was getting so much better and out competing everyone else. If you have a relationship, that relationship and bond gets stronger the more time you spend with that person. The more experiences you have with that person, the more time you talk together, everything. Just like, doing a sport and learning anything else, learning how to play piano. Like, you only get good at these things by spending more time doing it. You need to get those reps in. Just like working out, like the more reps you do, the more consistently you go to the gym, the better you get, the stronger you get, the bigger you get. It's the same exact thing with trading. So it's a whole fallacy when people say you need to trade 1 to 2 hours a day. You need to, take more time off the charts. It's your psychology. Like, a lot of those things are just fugazi. It's not really legitimate. And, there is some truth behind psychology, but I think that only comes after you're profitable. Again, the guy I knew was super, like, his psychology was horrible, but he was extremely profitable. And the thing he works on right now is his psychology, but he was super profitable before his psychology was like an issue and things like that. And so, yeah, I'm a big believer that the younger you are, the more time you spend on something, the better. And I still do that to this day. That's why I wake up early. That's why I keep on hustling. The more time and I dedicate to trading, the better I'm gonna get. And it definitely shows. And it's not just overnight. It's like, okay, if I work 12 to 14 hours every single day, that's going to compound a month from now, 2 months from now. It's not just work 12 hours today, work 3 tomorrow, work 6 tomorrow, work 1 tomorrow. It's consistently spending as much time as you can.
Yes, that's amazing that you
Yeah,
have that consistency, right?
absolutely.
And it's also amazing that you find a way to really like build up a strategy that really focus on spending more time on the chart and outperforming the market. And obviously, like your trading journey is not easy, right? You go
Yeah,
through a lot of like ups and downs,
right.
and you have to sacrifice a lot of things
Absolutely.
in no matter it's in uni or your personal life.
Yeah.
And for you, what's the most important like one trait you think that a trader should have to make him like a outstanding trader?
Yeah, I would say it's having that drive. And one thing I'll say is one of the reasons I think for my trading success, again, I can speak for myself because I kind of understand why I was kind of successful, and what really helped was, I think, going through trauma and pain and suffering as a person really builds you up. And so I think that in order to do hard things, you have to go through that pain, you have to go through that suffering, you have to go through that trauma to really build yourself and develop yourself as a person. The reason I work 12, 14-hour days consistently every day isn't because I like to work. I enjoy trading, but it is stressful. There's times where I should have made more money. There's times where I lose money and that shouldn't have happened. I do have, trades that I shouldn't have taken. I do have trades where I did mess up. I should have maybe got out sooner, maybe should have held longer. I make mistakes. I do make mistakes, and that costs me money, a lot of money sometimes.
Mm.
And the reason I work that 12, 14 hours stressful trading, staying competitive, is because I have a lot of pain. I've had family members tell me I can't do this. I had support from, my family didn't really support me, didn't really say what I was doing was possible. It was mostly just me. And I also had a lot of friends who didn't really, support me as well. And then it wasn't really about the support from friends or getting support from people, but just all that pain of, from high school, all these things, being a loser, feeling feeling invisible to people, and having a work ethic and drive, and just, all that pain and all that trauma really kind of just, hit me hard. And I still have that to this day. And that's why I work so hard, because I have a lot to prove to myself. It's almost like it's almost not even to other people at this point. It's kind of weird, because I don't care what other people think, but I've had so much pain from other people and so much trauma of, being lonely, being a loser, and all this stuff that really helped me, develop as a person, and said that I have to prove it to myself that I'm the man, and that I'm proud of myself. And so having all those bad experiences is what pushes me to continue working hard, and also taking care of my mom. I think that's a big factor too. Is my parents went through a divorce, and I had some health issues that, were it was kind of a little more eye opening. And I was like, if something did happen to me, who would take care of my mom? And my mom likes to. She says, "Oh, I'm very independent," and that's great. She does good. I'm very proud of my mom, and she does good, and she does. She is able to take care of herself, but I was thinking, if something happened to me, how would I take care of, like, who would be there to take care of my mom? Like, is there anybody I could rely on to take care of my mom if I was in a car accident and, I was injured for life, or I was no longer here? Who could I rely on? And could I rely on my, dad? My parents went through a divorce, and it wasn't really an easy divorce for either of them. And I don't think my mom would be on her own. Could I rely on my brother? I love my brother, and I hope the best for him, but I couldn't really rely on him fully either, if I was being truthful. And so I decided to step up as a man, and really, work hard, work extremely hard, and push myself to the limit. Take as much stress as I can. Like, the more stress I could take, the better. And so I pushed myself to the limit. And that was a big factor too. All that pain, the trauma, pushing myself, and all of that came in together. And you just have such a strong work ethic that you will make it. But like, if you're spending that many hours, and that's all you care about, that's all you think about. There was a lot of nights where I couldn't even sleep. Like, I was like, I have to figure this, I have to figure trading out, or I have to figure something out. I can't even, like, I can't sleep at night. And so it gets to that extreme level where, if you experience those things, you'll find a way to do it. And you need that pain. You need all that bad stuff to happen for you to really make it.
Yeah, just like having that whatever it takes mentality,
Right?
turning your pain to your a positive forward momentum. That's
Yeah.
amazing, man.
And yeah, and that's something I noticed with friends, and all sorts of stuff. A lot of my friends, they might have, I don't want to say easy lives, but they'll be like, hey, we can go to the club, and we can do this and that. And I'm just like, I have so much to prove that, like,
I'm
there's
falling
weeks.
behind, man.
Yeah, like, there's
I'm-
weeks where I wouldn't even leave the house. Like, even if I had to go to university, if I could skip those classes, I would. I would just continue to work, work, work. And you kind of just need that, like, you just got to be that aggressive to really go for it. And that's something that I think is a big factor in my success. If I didn't have that, I would have spent too much time, like, being distracted, and well, we wouldn't be here then, I guess. So yeah, that's a big factor.
I'm happy for you, man.
Thank you
Like
so much.
you
Thank
really
you.
go such a long way.
Thank you.
And like for you, what's your plan? Like, I don't know, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? I know this is
Yeah.
not a lot of people like this question, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. So one thing is that I've been grinding trading quite aggressively for, a long time. It's all I kind of do. That's all I do. I don't, leave the house too much. I don't hang out. I don't travel. It's kind of been all of trading, trading, trading. And a big reason was so I could build up a big kind of eggs nest of just savings, money in my trading accounts, things like that. And I'm at more of a comfortable point where, if I don't make money, it's okay. Like, if I have a red day or a red week, it's okay. And even though that hasn't happened, like, I haven't had a red week for a long time. I've had a red day. I've had some more red days recently. I'm okay with that, because I have a lot of money saved up on the sidelines. I have low expenses, and that's super, super helpful. And that takes off a lot of edge. And again, that's one of the reasons why I did, take the strategy and take a lot more trades. Because when I would take 1 to 2 trades a day, even if I did make, money, I was still like, it was super inconsistent. I would have a green day, then a red day, then another red day, maybe a flat day, then a green day. It was super inconsistent. And being young, you got bills to pay. Maybe you have student debt. Maybe you have, some grocery, but like you need to be making some kind of money. Like you only have so much savings. And so it makes sense when people say, hey, I take 1 to 2 trades. But the guys that I know that take 1 to 2 trades, they have a lot of money. They're swinging hard on those trades and they might make 50,000 on that trade. That's way more than, for the month's worth. And it's because they've built up that big cash flow. They have all that money and they have that kind of experience in the markets and things like that, and they've done the work, they put the time in. And so again, like another reason I take so many trades is I needed to make money, or I wanted to make money every day. And I was like, how can I realistically do that? And I can do that by taking a lot of trades, using the right strategy, being in the right market conditions. And so that was something that I kind of was a little bit more focused on. And what was the rest of the question? So
Like your 3 years plan, 5 years
yeah,
plan.
and so great. Yeah. So now my trading has kind of taken a turn from, hey, I wanted to make money every day so I could, pay my expenses, have some maybe investments that I have, that I'm a part of. And it's more of now of a point where, okay, I still want to be trading. I still plan on trading for a very long time. I think I'll probably always be trading. Because there's always something going on with the markets, and even everything impacts markets, the elections. So always planning on trading, but the ability to inspire other people, the ability to have someone like sitting in bed one day, laying in bed, and they watch your video and they're like, damn. And they just jump out of bed and they get to work. That's awesome. Motivating people, inspiring people, and also kind of just putting myself out there to connect with people. I want to be, connecting with more people, doing things like that, and also other business ventures. So I think I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Trading was a great vehicle for me to start my entrepreneurship path, understand how competitive it is in any aspect and realm of business. And that's good. And trading was the main goal with trading wasn't to make a ton of money. It was, can I make enough money to stay away from a corporate job and support myself? That's the whole reason I got into trading. And things have been extremely well where where the corporate job can, get out of here for a while, a long time. And, that's been very, very well. But I would love to. One thing I want to note is trading is a business. There are months where maybe you don't make money. Maybe there are months where you might have a drawdown. Now, when it comes to scalping, a lot of the times you can bring in some more consistent profits, but with other trading strategies and how market conditions will change, there could be some months where maybe you don't make as much, or it's a little bit less, or maybe it's a flat month and maybe you have to adjust. Like, who knows, right? I won't know until that time has come. Like, I know we have slow market periods where I can still make money. I know we can have hot market cycles where I can make a lot of money. And I don't know if there will ever be a market cycle where there's a flat month or a red month. It's possible. And one thing is, it's really good when you have a family to have that, more conservative mindset and more stable cash flow. And you can do that by having other kind of businesses and things like that. So I love trading, but I think I'm an entrepreneur at heart. And yeah, I totally see myself connecting with other people and jumping into a range of business ventures, but I'll probably always be trading. Definitely. Yeah.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
So when you're trading, like most of the time you're buying, right? What's the reason that you're more on the buying side instead of, trying to short the stock?
Right. So a lot of the times when we have these small caps with momentum, they're usually moving to the upside, and a lot of the time sometimes it's more manipulative. So a lot of, again, what these small cap companies will tend to do is they'll try to pump their stocks up, because one thing to know is small cap companies are usually not making money. They're usually not profitable, and so instead of the company going under, What they could do is try to up the stock price, sell some more shares, get some more maybe money and utilize that in the company and company's infrastructure. So a lot of the times you will see these stocks start to move to the upside, the momentum's to the upside, and it's very good to long them. And I also short stocks too, but there are like some brokers don't have, shares available to short some of those stocks. It can be hard to find shares and locate shares because these stocks have a smaller amount of shares outstanding. So it's much easier longing the stocks. The shares are there. And shorting the stocks, it can be a little bit more difficult. You need a broker that can have locates and things like that. And then you have extra fees. And so typically the momentum's to the upside. So, but we like to play both sides. We can make double the money. So, it's also kind of a different style when you're shorting them. And it's always good to know those styles because that also helps you make money and that adds up.
Exactly. For if somebody is like a complete beginner,
Right.
what would you suggest, like how he or she should start it?
Yeah, I would say if you're starting from basics, I think just Googling, YouTubing videos on like what the stock market is. If you're jumping into stocks,
Mm,
I think stocks can be one of an easier market to exploit and really make money from. I can't say too much about these other markets since I don't trade them, but there are some things that go on behind the scenes. I've heard of funding firms going under, and I've heard a lot of stuff, and it's not my place to say too much because I don't know that much. But with stocks, I know a lot. Stocks, options, and learn the basics. Really understand the infrastructure of the stock market. Understand that it's companies that are looking at news, that are looking about the financial background of the stocks, and that's kind of how decisions are being based. If they're going to aggressively buy, aggressively sell, understand different markets, the large cap market, or just like large cap stocks, mid cap stocks, small cap stocks, OTC stocks, and just really understand different parts and realms of the stock market. And you can find pretty good information just Googling out there. Now, when it comes to trading, you want to be careful who you listen to. There's a lot of great people out there, but it's okay to listen to people who are showing some proof or some type of transparency. It doesn't matter who you listen to as long as they have some proof or transparency. And you can totally buy services from people. It's just there is a lot of noise out there. So you have to kind of do your due diligence and research. And again, most people don't know much about markets, and anyone who talks about markets, they might, go to. And, most beginners wouldn't know any better if they see some guy who's not telling the truth. And if they do see someone who's telling the truth, it can be hard to, because you don't know much. And so, there's a lot of influencers out there, but, just do some background checks, see, do they have any proof of what they show? Like, what do they show in their videos? Is there any, live trades? Is there any other things that they might show that shows that they're making money and things like that? And then, you can start to learn more from that specific person. I think it's super important to learn from all types of people. Even me with the traders I learn from or that I watch, that I talk to in some more exclusive groups, I don't just focus in on one guy. I learn from all of them. They all have something to offer. There's a ton of times where I talk to traders who make less money than me because they still have value. They can still maybe offer a different perspective. And so just because you make a lot of money doesn't mean like somebody who hasn't made that much is better or there, there's a lot of things where you can derive value from different people. But again, you want to find people transparent, legit, and that's kind of where you can start from, you know?
yeah, that's important to,
Yeah.
to find all that proof.
Yeah. And
And yeah,
yeah, because if you're getting misinformation and material that's not important, you're just going to be in a loop running around in circles and you don't get anywhere. And so,
exactly.
yeah.
And a lot of times, like in this not profit, in this trading space, a lot of times, the more follower a influencer are, it a lot of times doesn't mean like he's more legit.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You want to at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if someone's big or small. It just matters if that person's transparent. And one thing I'll note is a lot of social media, people will follow those people because maybe their content's interesting or entertaining or it's funny or it's comedic. And trading can be fun and great, but there's a lot of people who have like a comedy effect with trading, and that's not really the reality. It's like super professional. You can make a ton of money. So when you're at that level where you can make that much money and you can make a lot of money, you can do this for a living. Everybody wants to do it. It's super competitive. So it's super professional. You hire certain tax advisors, you have a business, you save money on taxes by having a home office or I know personal traders who've moved to Puerto Rico. They move all the way to Puerto Rico to save money on taxes. So it's a very serious game. So when you see, bless you. Yeah. So when you see like some trading influencers that bring a more comedy effect, it's a lot of the time that's not really a reality of trading. Like it's super professional and
It's just like a picture they want to
yeah,
portray you and want to lure in.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and people with a lot of followers might have, maybe people are following them more because their videos are interesting or funny, and maybe they have like a persona and it's maybe not necessarily trading related. But anybody with big followers, small followers, if they're transparent, they show things, amazing. It's all you need.
yeah. So just do your own research and make
Yeah.
sure that guy's legit before you spend a bunch of time trying to learn from somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And yeah, and it's again, it's there's nothing wrong with like, buying courses from people and things like that. Again, I did that, but if you don't have someone who's transparent, you just run around in circles with the wrong, or it's wrong information and you don't get anywhere. And that's also what was happening to me too sometimes. And so it's just important to do that research.
yeah, and don't afraid to reach out. Like Andy is
Yeah.
super, super, um, super, super kind.
Thank
Like
you.
he reply to message extremely fast, and even to comments, like he reply in detail, and he's not afraid to trying to gatekeeping or whatever. And yeah, if just be more like do your own work, trying to reach out to people, and extremely important to pick the right quote unquote mentor that you learn from. That can really like shortcut your journey.
It's truly life changing to where I'm at, and there's still like so much work that I want to do and grow as a person, and I really enjoy sharing my journey too because I can look back on it, and that's something that I wanted to do as well. Look back on my journey, see how far I've come, and I encourage everyone to like make content and just look how far you've come. Like it's amazing to see that growth, truly life changing opportunity. It's a lot of work. Again, I do make the YouTube videos and I'm not scared of leaking trading edge or trading strategy because it still takes work to put it in. So
Oh, yeah, definitely.
yeah, for those people, I'm not just giving away a strategy. Like I'm showing you kind of things that work. And if you put in the work, you can do what I'm doing. So there's a lot of people that aren't going to put in the work, and that's where you end up.
You
But
you can
that's
just like hand out them
right. I can give
for
them, a
success
guide, certain things I look for. I
roadmap.
share live trades. And so that's, something that I do that's super helpful, but you also got to put in the work. And something I'll say is, yeah, I do make, those YouTube videos and, it's super, anyone who comments on those videos, I reply to every single comment. So every single comment I replied
I
to,
don't even do that.
anyone who needs help, and I'm sure there's a time where there'll be like maybe some comments I might miss, but I try to reply to every single person I do, and right now I do. And if there was one thing I could say to people is, try out trading, see if it's for you. It might not be for you, but for people that do want a shot at doing this for a living and really growing and changing their life, whether they do it full time or it's another source of income, try it. And it's not easy, but it is possible. You can do it, and I encourage everyone to try. I'm not going to say you can't do your dreams. I'm not going to say, there are people I know who don't have that work ethic, but I never tell them you can't do trading. You can try it, and you can really push yourself and see if you can do it as a person. And I root for everyone.
Hmm.
So because I know what it's like not having that support. I know what it's like having nobody be there for you, not supporting you and saying, you can't do it. So anyone who has trading questions that ask me or come to me, I say, keep working hard, keep on hustling, and I'm rooting for you to win. I'm rooting for you to make it, and I want to see you win, and I want to see you make it, and I'm supporting all of you. So
Um, just the last thing I want to go back and you, you mentioned like a lot of trading influencer try to portray like trading is like really easy, something
right.
like that. And you're saying like it's a really competitive, you can say it's a sport or whatever. And you have to be like a professional in
Yeah.
order to really like make it in this space. And how much do you make last month?
Yeah, last month was close to six figures. So I said
Damn,
it was close to about 97,000 last month, and
97,000.
yeah, before my fees. So after my fees, it might have been closer to 90K, somewhere around there, give or take. But yeah, it was
What
around
about
that.
this month?
This month, it was a good month too. We'll say it was up there too. Not as good as last month, but was still up there. I haven't checked the numbers yet, but
Yeah, he ain't capping
similar.
though.
So
Like
it's
all
good.
the proof is all on his like
Yeah.
YouTube. I can post it too. And
Yeah.
I'm like next week you're trying to pick up a
Yeah, so I will be, one of the things is I am a car guy, and so I do like cars, and hopefully sometime soon, maybe sooner than later, we'll see. The things have a way of working out or not working out. But yeah, I do like cars, so I might be picking myself up a little new toy sometime soon, and again, it's good to reward yourself when you work hard, and it's also a reminder to me to show I did this, I did it on my own. There wasn't really much people supporting me or people rooting for me, and yeah, that's pretty important.
yeah, man. He's a real deal, man. I mean, congrats.
Thank you, Richard. Thank
All
you,
right.
man.
That's about it. And I will post like Andy like social media all
Thank
my
you.
on the description, his channel. And if you have a question, make sure to reach out to him.
Yeah.
He got a lot of value and yeah, super transparent,
Great.
amazing person, super inspiring,
Thank you. Thank you.
and tremendous drive.
Thank you.
And I'm a pleasure to interview you
Now you're
today.
just boosting my ego. Now. That's too much. It's too much now.
I mean,
Thank you, man. I
right.
appreciate the kind words. Thank you. Thank you so much.
and I think Andy probably will probably post some content on his channel too. And make sure to check out his channel. He got some interesting content coming in the future. Maybe some day in the life shit.
Yeah, maybe some day in life videos and some more entertaining videos or just fun videos about my life.
Make sure to check out like his channel. Like maybe some of his videos not like super entertaining, super edited,
Right.
but this is where the real value is at if you really want to learn, trading. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.
Yeah.
All right, peace,
Thank
man.
you.